Don't you dare, ref. That's he got the ball. Good morning to all Spurs fans all around the world, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with Joe by Dave from an overcast Ireland. And it's a big game today as Tottenham Hotspur will make the trip to Merseyside to face a struggling Everton side as we look to get our first league win of 2025. And it's the last time that Spurs will visit Goodison Park before Everton moves to their new stadium next season, and it's safe to say that Tottenham will not miss visiting Goodison Park because we haven't won there in 6 years, dating all the way back to 2018. And with points crucial to improving our league position in the Premier League, Ange Postecoglou was a man under pressure to deliver a victory this weekend. So let's dive into it. The lineup that I think Postecoglou will pick to face Everton. In goal, and Kinsky will keep his place between the sticks. And Kinsky had a mixed performance against Arsenal, dealing with several set pieces very well and making a key save from Declan Rice in the second half. However, he'll be very disappointed with Trossard's goal, which bounced right in front of him, and many would argue Vicario would have saved that, which does leave questions around Kinsky's shot-stopping ability. However, despite his nerves, which were clearly evident on display very early in the game, Kinsky did then show some composure with the ball at his feet and will look to build on that performance. Everton have also capitalised on Tottenham's set-piece vulnerabilities in the past. Take your mind back to Goodison Park last year and Vicario came out with real scrutiny around them, and I do think Everton will likely look to target them again here. So this does present another chance for Kinsky to prove his ability to handle set-pieces effectively. If he can do that, it will go a long way to helping us secure a victory here. At right back, despite many fans wanted to see him given a rest out of the first 11 due to recent performances, I do think postman Porro will start yet again. Now, Porro struggled defensively against Arsenal, and many would argue that's been a common theme of Pedro Porro this season, and he particularly struggled with Trossard getting the better of him for much of the game and embarrassing him at times. He also failed to contribute significantly going forward, with his only notable moment of contribution being a shot off the post in injury time. Right now, his performances are counterproductive to what the team is trying to achieve. He keeps losing possession, and out of possession, he's become a target for the opposition, who clearly identify him as a weakness. And I am of the opinion it might be time to drop him from the starting lineup. However, I do think that Postecoglou will hold Davies back instead of rushing him back, which means Pedro Porro will retain his place at right back. And he will be up against Ndiaye, who is Everton's most dangerous forward. And if Porro can keep him quiet, it will go a long way to shutting Everton out. At left back, Jedi Spence will retain his place, and he was one of few positives coming out of that North London derby, getting up and down that left wing, contributing going forward, creating chances for Solanke. That ball with the outside of his foot was absolutely delicious to see, very pleasing on the eye, something most of our wingers can't do. And also defensively handling Raheem Sterling while he was on the pitch. Then you brought on Trossard and he had the answers for him as well. And I do think we'll need a similar performance from Jed Spence here, especially going forward. I do think down his side, the left-hand side, is an area where we can get forward, create overlaps on the likes of Ashley Young, use that to our advantage. So for me going forward, I think this is a real game for Jed Spence to show his expertise. At right-sided centre-back, Radu Dragusin will retain his place. And to be fair, despite a very nervy start from Radu Dragusin, which I don't quite understand, a couple of seconds in, he went herring forward, and it's like North London derby away from home. Just pass the ball to someone else and sit in and keep it tight for a few minutes, and they nearly turned it over and nearly went 1-0 up straight away. So a very nervous start from Radu Dragusin. However, he did settle into the North London derby and he made some important defensive interventions, including a block from Trossard early in the match. While he was also unlucky with the first half equaliser, he did go with Gabriel, he competed with him, he ended up getting the header, it ended up coming off Solanke. Nothing you can really do there. And to be fair, Radu Dragusin was solid in his duels. However, I still maintain, although defensively he's looking a lot more solid, in possession he is a worry and sometimes plays himself into trouble as well. And I do think this is a real area that if he really wants to destabilise Romero and Van de Ven partnership on their return, he really needs to show so much more composure in possession. I do hear the argument that he is a centre-back and defensively that's all what you want him for. That's fine. But in the modern day game, most managers want to try and play out from the back. Not just Ange Postecoglou. Even Conte at times needed his players to play out from the back. And he is going to have to learn to be a lot more competent, because if he doesn't, all they're going to do is keep using him as the trigger to go and press. And that left-sided centre-back to partner Radu Dragusin, and I know many fans will be very disappointed here with this selection, but it will be Archie Gray. Now, the reason why I think it will be Archie Gray is Postecoglou was asked about the possibility of Gray moving into the midfield following Davies' return from injury in his pre-match press conference, and Postecoglou responded saying, We don't have that luxury. We're still quite short defensively. Archie will continue to do what he's been doing. He's been contributing in every game, and wherever that may be for the team, he will give his best. Which for me, this effectively rules out the idea of Gray moving into midfield, which many fans have called for. As a result, it seems likely that Archie Gray will continue to play here at centre-back. And in the North London derby, Gray once again impressed, making 7 clearances and completing 88% of his passes. Despite his young age, his composure at the heart of defence has been absolutely commendable, and no reason to move him if he's playing this well. Now, moving into midfield, and I do think this is a very important selection for Postecoglou because it's called the engine room for a reason. You've got to work, you've got to be able to do both sides of the games, and you can't afford to carry passengers. And up against David Moyes, who he usually selects a very combative midfield, looks to turn the ball over and hit you on the counter. Apart from that, he looks to block up the middle and ask questions of you out wide. So this selection will have to be robust and combative. And I do think you will see at the base of the midfield Lucas Bergvall and Papa Matasar. And we'll start with Lucas Bergvall here for a moment. The reason why I think Bergvall will be asked to drop into this double pivot role is because Bissouma's performance against Arsenal, first of all, was below par, giving the ball away in a crucial moment that led to the second goal. And it's not the first time we've seen this from Bissouma. It seems to be a regular occurrence. He's also dealing with an injury, and if he is unavailable, I do think Bergvall will drop deeper in the midfield. Now, Bergvall was undoubtedly Spurs' best player against Arsenal, showing real maturity for a young 18-year-old in that North London derby. He was solid defensively and also tried to provide important contributions going forward in attack. His all-round display means he should keep his position here in the starting lineup against Everton, and he's truly deserved it. It's a real shame that an 18-year-old has been the bright light and the one showing leadership and experience when it should be the other way around, when it should be the senior players showing it, and they should be setting the example for Bergvall to follow. So fair play to Bergvall, and what a signing he's been. Now, as for Papa Matasar, he had a real tough outing against Arsenal, really struggling to make an impact and picking up a yellow card in that first half, and was subbed off at half-time for 2 games running. That's now Tamworth and the North London derby. I just wonder what is going up with Papa Matasar. Is there an injury we're not being told about? Or is it simply due to his level of performances? Many would argue it has been to his performances. Hasn't really contributed in both games. Has merely been a passenger. And he will really need to step up here and provide a lot more and contribute a lot more if called upon. Especially since we are facing a midfield crisis with Bissouma and Bentancur now out. It really is all on this young kid's shoulders. And what I would say is, when he signed on the dotted line here as an 18, 19-year-old, this is a position he dreamed of. There's a massive opportunity for him here in this game to really take command of this midfield and show everybody, I have to play week in, week out. I think Papa Matasar is a really good player. I think his all-round game is absolutely brilliant, and I do think we're just now really sort of waiting for him to kick on. And lastly, the reason why I have him on the right-hand side is because if you go back and look at Pedro Porro's best games, even last season, it has been when Papa Matasar has played on the right of that midfield, and that's because Papa Matasar's work rate gets across in front of him, helps him out, covers him when he goes forward and helps him out. So for me, I think this is what we need to get back to alleviate the weakness down that right hand side. And to complete the midfield 3, I do think Postecoglou has no option but to recall James Maddison, who has started the last 4 or 5 Premier League games on the bench, and it's clear that there's been some falling out between Maddison and Postecoglou, and I do think it's approaching a point where Maddison is talking about wanting to get back into that England squad. At what point does he sit there and go, well look, I started off my career here, as a very important player, and now I'm just merely a squad player. Even through injuries, I'm just merely a squad player and riding the bench. At what point, does he turn around to the club and ask to leave? I think he's sitting here banking on Postecoglou getting sacked. And honestly, I don't think Postecoglou trusts him either, because we're a team that have been in the mire. We're looking for results. We're looking for creativity. We look dead going forward. And he still refuses to pick James Maddison, which shows to me he doesn't want to hinge his job on someone like James Maddison. And look, I think the fallout has probably been simple. I think Postecoglou has probably gone at James Maddison for not contributing defensively. And I think Maddison has turned around to him and said, look, I'm not that sort of player. You knew that when you signed me. Why are you asking me to do things I'm not used to doing? So I think that's where the falling out has come from. And I think Postecoglou has probably said, you know what, James, you've got an ego, can't carry that in this team. It's all about the team, it's all about working hard. I am not catering my formation to you. But look, I think there's a real opportunity for James Maddison to step up and show his worth, get Spurs fans on his side. If he can come in, contribute a few goals, a few assists, and help unlock this low block that Everton will set up with this tight, compact unit, if he can do that, I think he'll have many Spurs fans on his side calling for him to get games. So I think it's beneficial if Maddison is selected to not sit there, sulk, throw his toys out the pram, and ultimately try and throw Postecoglou under the bus. I think he's got a golden opportunity here to step up and say, look, you've got to pick me. And moving into the forward area, and it's an area of the team that has become real stale in recent weeks, with our players looking really fatigued and really tired. But we will start out on the left wing, and it will be Captain Son to take up the responsibilities out on that side of the pitch once again. Son's deflected goal was a highlight of an otherwise forgettable North London derby performance from Son. He really struggled to hold up the ball, only managed 27 touches in a North London derby, considering he's our best player, is nowhere near good enough and really below standard in 74 minutes before being hauled off. However, I do think this game presents a unique opportunity for Son to build on that goal and try and build a bit of momentum and confidence heading into the back end of this season, because he should be up against Ashley Young, unless David Moyes decides to make a change, who is 39 years of age. He's really struggled with the pace of the Premier League this season and is seen as a weak link in Everton's defence. And with that in mind, I do think it's absolutely crucial that Sonny goes directly at him, takes him on and exploits that weakness down the left wing, rather than dropping back to the halfway line, picking up that ball and passing backwards or inside, which has been a common theme of his game in recent weeks. So we need a massive performance from our captain here, especially with the manager under pressure. The manager selects the club captain for a reason, because he's the guy that he trusts. It's now up to Son to lead the troops to 3 points. Moving on to right wing, and Postecoglou in his pre-match press conference has alluded to that Brennan Johnson is also struggling with soreness ahead of this game, which means I do think it will be Dejan Kulusevski out here on the right wing. And he had a quiet game against Arsenal, and uncharacteristically he looked very weak, with even Lewis Skelly knocking him off the ball at times, and I do think that does come down to fatigue. However, he still tested David Raya with a shot and showed glimpses of creativity, providing 4 key passes on the night. And as proven for the majority of this season, even when Kulusevski isn't at his best, he's still one of the most creative players in this team. And we do need a massive game from him here yet again. And moving into the guy up front, and I do think we are going to see a change here this weekend with Richarlison coming in for Dominic Solanke. Now, Dominic Solanke found it very difficult against Arsenal's defence, struggling to hold up the ball all night long. He even had a few sights of goal, one of them in the first half. Jed Spence played a lovely outside of the boot cross right into his bat, and Gabriel just simply had more hunger and desire to get on the end of it and cleared it. He went sliding in, and I just didn't see that same hunger or desire from Dominic Solanke to get on the end of it. And that is something I have seen from Richarlison up front, where he almost battles for that space in the box, and that is one thing I think Dom Solanke is maybe lacking. Then he also had a couple of chances. He had one where he's running straight through the middle at the centre backs, and in years gone by I've simply seen Kane just curl that around him into the bottom corner. Dom Solanke balloons it right off them, and then he had an overhead near the end of the game, didn't really quite connect. But he did spurn a few chances on the evening. In games like that, you have to be uber clinical, even with half chances, and he just didn't show that ability. And he has been overworked, and he has looked very tired and leggy in recent weeks, and I do think it's time for rest for Dominic Solanke. And Postecoglou has sort of alluded to that in weeks gone by as well. So there's a golden opportunity for him to put his money where his mouth is, rest Solanke and bring in Richarlison. And I would start Richarlison up front for this game. You know, his impact off the bench in the North London derby straight away, providing that slide ball in behind for Jed Spence, done more than any other forward player on the night, and has looked more creative than any winger has done in months at Tottenham Hotspur. And also I think you have to factor in that 3 of our 4 goals against Everton last year all came from Richarlison. And for me, if I'm Postecoglou looking to save my job, that's something I would play on. And I do think it's a game that is self-motivating for Richarlison. Again, he wants to prove he made the right move moving to Tottenham Hotspur, that he can handle that step up. And the Everton fans will be on his back, and I do think that's where Richarlison performs best. And I think he deserves an opportunity to prove himself here in this game. So guys, that's it. That's my predicted lineup heading into what I think is an absolute massive weekend. You see many reports in the media suggesting that if Postecoglou doesn't win, the sack is inevitable. And also, I think if we don't win this weekend, whatever goodwill he does have left from fans, I also think that goes as well, and they'll also be calling for his head. So I think it's a very important game. We really need 3 points. I'm up for it. The fans are always up for it. But like we've seen in the North London Derby, sometimes the players or managers aren't. So hopefully they could come out here and get 3 points and try and ease the pain of the defeat in that North London Derby. As always, come on you Spurs. In Big Andrew, trust until he's sacked. We never stop, baby.